Hello guys, so this video is for the Windows users that want to compile Aurora in Windows. It's really easy. It's essentially just an executable, but there will be also the installer version in the future, provided that everything goes well. So nothing to worry about, and if this video seems like to show something too complicated and you don't want to bother, then don't worry, that will be eventually the installer file. So first thing I want to do is go to the website where Aurora is, and for this, in terms of compiling, downloading and compiling, and creating the installer, you want to make sure that you also have enosetup installed in your computer. So let me show you real quick what it is. So enosetup is a piece of software that's mostly usually used by developers that create a program that later they want to create an installer for Windows. Now nowadays a lot of people use it, not necessarily developers, and the version that I have running in my computer is this one here, version 6.7.3. okay, so jrsoftware.org, and that's where you find enosetup install in your Windows computer. You need to have that because it's a condition to create the installer. Okay, so there. I'm going to show you now how to go ahead and compile it in your computer and create the installer. So go to the website where github.com/n4eac/aurora, and you want to click on code and click on download zip. This is like in Linux, where you would clone the repository. It's more or less the same thing. Okay, so you go to your downloads folder. That's where it's going to be. You can go ahead and close the browser now. This is not too big here on the screen, but basically what you want to do now is you want to extract everything to downloads. So once that's done, you can go ahead and delete the zip file, and you go inside the Aurora main folder that just got extracted, and you want to find the build execute bat file, which is this one here. Let me see if I can make it bigger. It's this one here, okay, build.exe.bat. Alright, so you double click on it. You want to run it. It's going to give you like a DOS screen. Minimize this here. Fonts are not too big for the purpose of this video, and I apologize, but there isn't much to follow on the screen anyway. This is now going to compile the executable and also create the setup, because this bat file has also the script for the creation of the setup script and running. And that's why setup needs to be installed in your computer. Otherwise, it will just give you an error message. It's not going to create an installer. Now, this is going to take some time, so just be patient. Again, this is in Windows. I'm currently on Windows 10, but it also works on Windows 11. Like I said, it's going to take some time. On faster computers, it will be probably faster than what you're seeing here on the screen. This computer, it's only 4 cores. Is pretty old computer right now. It's close to 15 years old, I think, if not more. It's an old machine. It's a 4-core machine, and 16 gigs of RAM, which for today's standards, more or less average. It's not really the top anymore. It used to be, back when I built this computer, used to be top. But only 4 cores, and it has its limitations. So it's going to take a little while now to build this. Not much. The program itself, Aurora, it's not very heavy. It's not a very heavy program. The installer is about 50 megabytes. It's not big. What takes time is building, the Python compiler, creating all the dependencies, and making sure that everything is put together in the package so that the executable is built correctly and it turns out functional. And also the installer later has all the files that need to run. I've already run this in a different computer, actually slower than this one and smaller. It's a small laptop, and it ran just fine. So I don't see why I should have a problem here in this particular computer, although I have some weird audio set up in this particular machine that might cause some confusion. But I'm not going to do a demo for Aurora here. I'm only showing you how to go ahead and create the installer yourself using the repository on GitHub. Most Windows people don't care about this, and if you're here watching, you're one of the few that actually like a little adventure instead of just clicking next, finish on Windows. So there'll be some warnings on the screen. You will want to ignore them. Some of them are just about Qt and some data that really doesn't matter anymore at this point, because of old versions of Qt and so on and so forth. Now, as we create this file right here, I am already working on changes to Aurora that are not going to show in this particular video. But then again, essentially this video is only to show how to compile the program. It does not to build how to build the executable with the builder script and Windows, and it's not about showing the features and explaining how Aurora works. So again, it's still relevant even if you're watching this later when a new version of Aurora is created. It's still on alpha. It's not really public, although the repository is public. I'm not making a big announcement about it because I don't know if it's going to work well or not. So it's just, humble beginnings, right? Starting small, and I don't want to get out there and say, hey, this new digital mode and stuff, and it really, what if it doesn't work well? And I don't want to waste people's time, trying stuff that don't work. So we'll see. Not competing against any other digital mode, but I also don't want it to be just another digital mode that, there's so many out there and people don't use them, and they're actually fantastic modes. And what makes me think that Aurora is going to be better, right? It's just, it all depends how. I think it's mostly client driven and how features are offered within the program, more than just, but then again, there's some awesome programs. Take, for example, FLDG. God, FLDG is amazing. I don't know why people don't use it that much. Most people nowadays, they're on FT8. Well, FT8 crowd is a completely different crowd. These are people that they don't want to be in front of the radio. They just want to set it up, run it, and walk away. And then come back to collect their DXCCs, I guess, and their log files. FT8 to me is more like a way to look at how the propagation is working right now. It's more of a propagation thing to me than actually fun. I have no fun with FT8 whatsoever. But then again, I respect if you like FT8. Hey, more power to you. It's not my thing. It's not my cup of tea. But so it depends on the popularity. Like Vara, for example. Hey, Vara is extremely popular. Vara AC, WinLink, all of these programs are extremely popular. Problem is, you can run them on Linux, but there's a lot of things that you need to adapt to make it run, and who knows when something gets updated on the client side, are you going to be able to update it on Linux and not break the emulation? And that's another issue that people might have with running Windows programs on Linux. When the developer says he doesn't want to do it on other platforms, it's their call, and there's nothing you can do about it. So when I am creating something that is different, I think to me is important that one, it's free for everybody, and two, people can modify and be able to use it in any operating system they like. So right now I'm only doing it for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So maybe, I haven't tried it on Raspberry Pi, but I don't have a Raspberry Pi that is powerful enough to test and say, hey, let's baseline on Raspberry Pi 4, Raspberry Pi 5. My Raspberry Pi, I think, is 3, and it's very slow, so I really don't want to I could try and see if it runs in there, but and again, going back to my point, I think it's important that everybody is able to use whatever operating system of their choice. What if I don't want to use Windows? What if I have, problems with how Windows works and I don't like Windows and I want to use it on Linux? I should have a choice there when it comes to certain programs, not having to say, oh, okay, I'm not going to use VARA because it's not available on Linux. I mean, you can always adapt, but again, it's adapting. It's not really running natively. All right, so let's see if it worked. I don't know, because the way I ran this, I double click on the file. I didn't run from the command line, so now I need to see if it's there. So now we go to the dist folder, and now I should have here the installer. There it is. Here's the installer, and let me double click it. Okay, and let's do the Windows thing now, right? Next. Sure, why not? Let's create a desktop icon. Next. Install. Okay, desktop icon is right here, and say launch. All right, so let's go ahead and launch it. Let's see what is going to pop up. Oh, right here. Cool. So this is the default layout. You can change this layout. So this is the messages box. You can put it up there. You can get this other list of callers and put it here on the side. You can make this bigger. This doesn't have to be big. And this is a layout that is going to change, so it might not look like this in the future. Okay, and let's see if it's ready to do some noise here. Nope. So I'll go into setup. I'll do a dummy hamlib connect. Let's see now. Yeah, so there you go. That's your Aurora modem working. Hopefully this has been a helpful video. Again, remember your install file is right here. You can save it somewhere else in your computer if you want for the future, and I'll make it available on GitHub eventually. But this is how we built it from this little executable, and that spit out this installer here, and make sure they have installer, so this file can be created automatically by the script. That's it for now, guys. Thank you. Till next time.